Right then, the Premier League is back. It is Manchester United. It is Spurs. We are on the road this weekend. Second game of the season. It's time to get stuck straight into it. I have got a bet for you later on in this video. This video is brought to you by our friends at Parimatch UK. Stay tuned for that bet. It is a little bit later on in the video. You can check out where in the chapters below. And let's get into how this game is going to go. Spurs had a tough opening day fixture, and it generally seems to be a tricky place for us to go and get points. The Wolves game was clearly not United's best by any stretch of the imagination, but the result in the clean sheet hopefully is going to add to a little bit of confidence. Wolves is a tough game for us. They don't make it easier. There's a lot to learn, but obviously we're now going to have a very different challenge in Spurs and a new look Spurs as well with Postecoglou. In recent years, we always seem to match at them at quite key moments for both teams. And this one's got the potential to really skyrocket our season back into some momentum after what was quite a shaky start for us. In the last 5 games against Tottenham, we've done really well. We've won 4 and we've drawn 1. The last outing being the 2-2 draw that we had with them. Spurs also had a 2-2 draw on their opening fixture. It was against Brentford. And the new gaffer, Postecoglou, is still experimenting with his side. And he's got an even harder job for him, I believe, after losing Harry Kane to Bayern Munich. Tottenham have been pretty pleased with what he's done so far in pre-season. They won 5-1 in consecutive games, and then they fell short to a pretty well-drilled West Ham side before the opening game of the season. And they have got a couple of new signings in the side. Van der Ven is an interesting one. Solomon, he's just bedding in. But James Maddison is the headline one. I actually think James Maddison, if they knew about Harry Kane going before they brought James Maddison in, which I suspect they might have done, that was quite an astute signing, because even though he's not going to get you the goals Harry Kane does, he's going to do that sort of occupy that hole and create for the team in a similar way to what Harry Kane did. And in terms of how they play as a team, in recent years, they've been a tough opposition, and their play style, at the very best, has made them look unbelievable. And they've gone through some quite distinct managers, with quite distinct styles about them. Mourinho and Conte sort of took Spurs away from that kind of quite free-flowing attacking side that Pochettino had created. But under Postecoglou, things are probably going to go back to being quite positive again. He wants to hold the ball. He wants to have like a high level of possession. He's going to play a high line. He's going to try and press from the front. And it is a little bit more in line with what Pochettino was. The question mark is, does he have a squad capable of doing that, or is a squad more suited towards what Mourinho and Conte were trying to build there? He's getting a lot of praise, Postecoglou, and some of that is for the high intensity, but also the use of their fullbacks in the game, which is something that a lot of teams are doing at the moment, it must be said. Now, offensively on the ball, Spurs look a hell of a lot better than they did under Conte and Mourinho for obvious reasons. And there is a lot of positivity on the ball. And he's pretty much come in and done what he was showing us at Celtic in terms of at least the play style. The results will be different, obviously. But they seem to take a lot more risk now. They carry the ball into key areas. They advance the ball through, quite direct play, but it's on the floor generally, and it is possession-based. They set up in a 4-3-3, although sometimes it is going to look like a 4-2-3-1 because Maddison is going to occupy more of a central zone and he's going to be a little bit more further forward. So it's more of an asymmetric 3, and it'll often be called a 4-2-3-1. The big tactical detail that you can notice from their outing so far is use of the fullbacks, very much in the style of, it's getting called a Guardiola style, but I was speaking to someone yesterday in the video that we did, the tactics video that we did earlier in the week. Ten Hag used this 3-2 build-up where people come and occupy the half spaces ahead of the defence. This isn't new. It's just new to the Premier League, and therefore now it's new. James Maddison's going to be, I think, an excellent addition for them. He's got a lot of the qualities that Postecoglou is definitely going to be looking for. There is going to be a huge emphasis placed on Son, not just as the captain, but the contributions that he adds to the team, especially with Harry Kane going, are going to be massive for them. Kane's exit has given Son all the fuel to really stand out and lead, and I think he'll have to do that more so than he has done in previous seasons. Postecoglou's sides are going to look to press high. They're going to look to get the forward men even more of the ball. That's going to benefit the likes of Maddison and Son. I think you'll see that link up being almost as fruitful as what we saw with Kane and Son, I believe. But they are creating some interesting patterns of play. And despite all of this, Son, I'm not sure the reasons why, but Son was subbed off midway through the game against Brentford. Defensively, they couldn't look much more different, really, in the way they've set up in previous years. Under Conte, they were the most passive team in the league, ranking bottom for high turnovers. They were comfortably sitting off in a low block. Against Brentford, there was numerous occasions where all 10 Spurs outfield players were in the opposition half. Actually, the defensive third of Brentford. That's a seriously high line. And that's probably why you saw the massive weakness in that, which is that they were getting broke on the counter, which Brentford did time and time again against them. But the contrast couldn't be starker from Conte and Mourinho to the entire team is in the final third. Incredible. James Maddison has come in and is a bit of a vocal leader of the press. He initiates it, he guides it, and his abilities on the ball could be really unlocked if we get pressed and give up the ball in dangerous locations. Because of the high line, they signed the pacey centre-half, which is Mickey van der Ven, in the hopes that he can provide the cover that's going to be required because of the height of the line that they're playing. And there are hopes that Postecoglou can bring Basuma back into his best as well, because that high-intensity risk-reward mentality suits Basuma, and he absolutely balled out against Brentford. I thought he had a really, really good game. I think he was the man that was chosen to sit in front of the back four. A little bit of a surprise. Oliver Skipp was given the license to sort of step up and roam a little bit ahead of him. Starman for Tottenham, I think it has to be James Maddison. It has to be James Maddison. And in signing him, like I said, I think it'll prove to be an excellent decision. He's got lots of the qualities that Postecoglou seems to favour. At Spurs and at Leicester, he's shown that he's got a little bit of an X factor about him. He probably should feature for England, but, you know, Southgate, we're ready, solid crisp. Against Brentford, he assisted both the Spurs goals in a 2-2 draw. The first assist was just absolute pinpoint set-piece delivery. That's something that United definitely need to be looking out for. And the leadership saw him take the captain's armband as Son departed. So it shows the level of trust that is being put in him. In terms of my United 11, again, nearly said Big Dave in net then. This is going to take a minute to get over. Big Andre, Big Dre in net. Big Dre in net. I do go with Wan-Bissaka. And I think Ten Hag will go with Wan-Bissaka. Shaw, Martinez, Varane. Has he learned? Casemiro and Bruno. I'm bringing Bruno back. Bruno's going to be the deeper of the two. Mount can go further forward this time. Anthony and Rashford on the wings, and I'm playing Sancho in the false nine because I think I want us to hold the ball a little bit better. United need a bit of a link. We can't just be, going over the top wouldn't be the worst idea, but I also don't think Garnacho deserves another start, and I think Sancho does. So on that basis, we have a link man in Sancho that can operate in between the lines, get on the turn, find Anthony, find Marcus in behind the fullbacks. That's going to be a place that United can exploit because the fullbacks are going to be inverted. There's going to be a lot of room in the wide areas. That's where United are pacey. And yet you don't want Rashford running up against Van der Ven, who might be able to keep up with him. You want to go into an area of the pitch where you're going to have an advantage, and that's where I want to see you play. So that's the United 11 that I'm going to go with. And in that, the star man is going to be Bruno Fernandes because he's going to be playing a different position and he needs to be a little bit deeper, get on the ball and affect the play from a little bit deeper. United have struggled progressing the ball through the middle third. Mount isn't quite ready for it yet. And Bruno's played this position and played it very effectively. That home game against Everton, I see this going the exact same way. The high line Everton played will be the high line Spurs played. And the opportunities for him to do a first-time ball in beyond will be quite high. So I would like to see him do that. Get him away from Basuma as well, where I think Basuma could kind of lock him out of the game. In the 2-0 home victory that we had last season against Spurs, I really remember how good he was, and the ball retention that he had was probably one of the best at the time. In a period of time when he was getting brutalised for how he didn't keep hold of the ball, yet he was like the most creative player in the Premier League. But, you know, whatever. I want to see that Bruno again. I want to see him being the progressive player because he's got the ability. And I want to see him being dangerous from open play and set plays again. And he can find Garnacho, Anthony, Sancho, Marcus, whoever's on the pitch at the time. They'll get the opportunities to win the game for us. So as I said, I have got some bets for you this weekend. I've got a special treat for you this weekend as well from our partners at Parimatch UK, just in time for this weekend's Premier League match between United and Spurs. So let's dive into the details of this exclusive bet boost that I have put together with Parimatch. So I have selected these options and I've got a cheeky little boost on the back end for it as well. First, I'm going United to win. Why am I going for United to win? Well, rarely, if ever, are you going to see me sitting here and predicting United to lose. I'm an optimist at heart. I might be a bit of a deadpan one, but I am an optimist at heart. I also do think United are going to win this weekend. I'm backing Marcus Rashford to score any time because after seeing just how much pressure Brentford put this high Spurs line under, there is nobody better than Marcus Rashford against the high line. Certainly in the United side, but I would also say in world football, Marcus is really up there for people that you want when you're playing against a team with a high line. So I think Marcus Rashford is going to get the opportunity to put something in the back of the net. And I'm also predicting over 2.5 goals as well, because I think United are going to score twice, but I think Spurs are going to get one. So I actually think 2 or 3-1 is going to be the result. So over 2.5 goals. And here's the kicker. My bet has been boosted from 18-5 to an incredible 9-2. Now, let me clarify this. This isn't just an ordinary bet. This is my exclusive that is only available through Parimatch UK. And if you're a United supporter, if you love the game, if you just want to get behind my selections for the big match, you can do so at this boosted price. The link for this is in the description. And if, like me, you're feeling the excitement, you're ready to get the bet boost for the Premier League clash, all you need to do is follow the link in the description, and it is as easy as that. And before we go any further, just a quick reminder, you do need to be over 18 to participate. And for more information and support, please visit begambleaware.org. Always gamble responsibly. And on a side note, I want to emphasize that these are my selections and my opinions. It's important to keep in mind that no one can guarantee the outcome of any of these bets, but enjoy the game responsibly and within your means, and you'll have a good old time. So how do United beat Spurs? For me, it's very straightforward. Number one, you've got to play through the press. They are going to press you hard. United need to be better than we were against Wolves, where I thought we were coming unstuck just a little bit. And Spurs have a quite shaky, inexperienced defence that I think you can penetrate. So if you can play into midfield, get on the turn and put it into the final third behind that high line, you're going to do an absolute madness. Secondly, I think you've got to keep their playmakers quiet because they've got players that can absolutely hurt you. Maddison is the player that will free himself from opposition markers if they're not focused. He will get the license to operate in between the lines and peel off people into spaces where you're not looking for him. But having someone like Casemiro should make it a bit of a long night for, you know, the guys that's probably going to be tasked with making all those chances for Spurs. If Son starts, and I don't know why he got hooked off against Brentford, but if Son starts, keeping him locked down and keeping Maddison quiet. Do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me when everything at United went through Pogba and Rashford. This is the same thing, yeah? You keep one of them quiet, you keep the supply quiet, and you keep the product quiet, and you'll be fine. And I think just this is a really boring one, but if you just play our football, you know, United are starting to build, I mean, not against Wolves, let's ignore that, but United are starting to build into a bit of a rhythm and a bit of a pattern about how I think that our manager wants us to play. We turned Spurs over before. You can definitely do it again. It is a different side. They've lost Harry Kane. I think there'll be some frustration in the stadium at Spurs. Build on that. Put the pressure on. You know, ultimately, United need to improve upon our away form last season, and I've got the full faith that we're going to be able to do that. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. If you're going to have a look at the bet, please do so responsibly and make sure you're over 18 before you do that. And I will see you lot in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.